y'all, it's Alex and welcome back to my channel. Over here we have day 25, the prompt word was tasty, and you can find this lovely piece in the top right corner. Today is the last Bombay India ink of our entire Inktober. It is turquoise, and it is another color in the set that I've never used, so I'm excited to actually finally use it. For today's thumbnail, I wanted to bring back a feature from day 12. We're going to bring back the girl that we used on the prompt word dragon. And it's rare that I include the taping process, but today as the outline, I had to use one of my favorite washi tapes. It's a roll of vintage French ads of all sorts. And if you didn't catch day 12, this is that piece, and I'm going to be reprising that girl. Or at least I thought I was going to be. I started drawing it and I realized that the composition with the single eye in the background just didn't quite work for whatever reason. So I decided that I was going to nix using the girl from Dragon, instead going for a different character with just eyes over top. And for picking out the character, I did randomly select some aspects. For the gender, I once again got girl. For hair, I picked victory rolls in a lovely twist. The shirt was a net shirt, and the pants were bell-bottom jeans. So when I pre-picked the hair option, you won't believe what it gave me. Space buns. So I got kind of angry at my card selections because I feel like I always pick space buns, and yesterday we picked victory rolls. So I was like, screw it. We're gonna make her bald, or at least mostly bald. The story that kind of developed while I was working on this piece is this girl is more of a modern witch. Yesterday we went super vintage witch. Today we're going super modern punk witch. And she is a ghost investigator, and she is, there were a few ideas that I had for the background. One idea is that she's in this like abandoned ward, and it would be, if I had gone with this piece, it would have been mostly dark, and then there would be a light doorway at the very back with a silhouette of like some sort of demon. But I decided that didn't exactly fit the prompt. The prompt is dark, so I wanted the focus of the fear to be dark. So instead I decided on having three figures about to attack her, and in one speech bubble above her head that is being caught by some other piece of equipment, there is another entity telling her to run. And then the other one that is on her hip, the figure with the large toothy mouth on her right, technically our left. I don't know how easy it is to tell from the pulled back view, but the dialogue says, "Hello, dinner," inside of a whole bunch of scribbles that are supposed to denote, like, radio static. I've been watching a whole lot of Ghost Adventures recently. So I didn't realize this until I was already finished with the piece, but there is a quote from Lemony Snicket's Series of Unfortunate Events, I believe in the Airsats elevator, but the quote goes like this. "The phrase 'in the dark,' which I'm sure you know, can refer not only to one's shadowy surroundings, but also to the secrets which might be surrounding you too. Every day the sun goes down over all these secrets, so everyone is in the dark in one way or another. If you are sunbathing in the park, for instance, but you do not know about the deep and dangerous pit nearby, then you are in the dark even though you are not actually in the dark. If you are on a midnight hike knowing full well that there are several ballerinas following you, then you are not in the dark even though you are in the dark. Of course, it is quite possible to be in the dark as well as not in the dark, not in the dark. But there are so many secrets in this world that it is likely you are always in the dark about something, whether you are in the dark, or in the dark, not in the dark. And so you will eventually fall into the deep and dangerous pit dug by several ballerinas, which is dark in the park." I didn't even think of this quote until afterwards, and I was listening to one of the songs from the Jim Carrey movie, not the recent TV series, but I'm glad that I incidentally managed to fit that quote with this piece, because she is in the dark about the creatures that are surrounding her, and in the dark physically. And I don't exactly know why I chose these extruded kind of featureless creatures for the monsters in the background. This is kind of what I usually think of when I think of the entity known as shadow people. And I feel like I heard a lot of stories about them growing up, so they've always had a really big impression on me. Since this piece is actually probably like the most minimalistic of this entire series, I needed to find different ways to put in some details, like where was I going to hide a witch hat, where was I going to hide a skull. However, I wanted to make sure that there was still enough other than the wand to really tie her as a witch. I do feel a little sad that I didn't reprise the dragon girl, but in the moment I just kind of decided that I wanted to spread my wings a little bit more. Just like how yesterday I didn't want to reprise the cats that I did on day 18. I didn't want to do multiples of the same idea, you know? Now, before we get into the coloring process of this piece, I will warn you guys, I had a lot of problems with exposure in this piece. And that is entirely because I did this piece as a almost completely black background, very dark figures, and then the girl in the middle, who I think I named her Bree, like Brianna. So Bree at the center is very, very light, and then everything else around her is supposed to be dark. I briefly considered, for the shadow people, outlining them in white pen. When I started going in with the ink wash at first, I didn't give a crap about where the line art started and where it ended, except for in the teeth and the eyes that I wanted to have stand out. I first went in with my number 5 wash, but decided that was too light, so I moved on to my number 6 wash because I wanted them to be very subtle. And something I realized as I got through sections of this piece, there was no point in me coloring in the entire background with the ink wash if I was just going to be coloring over the rest of it with black ink anyway. It's a lot easier to see when it's wet, where I put down the black ink. When it dries down, it's a lot less noticeable. You can kind of see it has dried down. It's dried down in the top left corner. So that's kind of like the color tones that these segments dried down to once everything was said and done. For the speech bubbles, I didn't want them to be perfectly white, so I decided to go in with a medium colored wash and then splotch in a whole bunch of colors to kind of replicate TV static, just to kind of doubly hit home that the weird scribbles around the actual font are supposed to be static. Now, this color is probably the one that I'd say is the thing I have a problem with about these Bombay India inks the most is I feel like some of them are pretty misnamed. This doesn't feel turquoise to me. This feels aqua. Aqua, usually I think of like a more sky blue cyan sort of color, and then the one that was named aqua in this set, it's very much more what I would call a turquoise, because turquoise is, at least in my mind, a lot greener than this. I don't know how well it also comes across on camera, so that might just be a personal opinion. When I was painting in the pants, I went through most of the pants with one mixing of ink wash, and I liked that color a lot. It was a little close to the shirt, but I did like it. And then I had to mix more, and I added a lot more black to that mix. It's not even anywhere near the same color, so I had to go through and redo the entirety of the pants, which of course meant that wherever I double layered it got very shiny. That's something I've noticed every single time I've used these inks. Wherever I layer it too much, it gets shiny, and it's weird. Like, you can see it. And weird enough, we're already done with this piece. This is probably the one that I did the least on through this entire Inktober. It is simpler and it doesn't have a full background, but I think it gets the point across, and it's probably one of the ones that I think fits the prompt the best. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and sorry for if any of the flickering bothered you. I tried fixing it in post, and hopefully I got it at least okay. Tomorrow's prompt word is coat, and I hope you guys will join me tomorrow as well. If you'd feel so inclined, hit that subscribe button and check me out on my other social media handles. Thanks, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.